Hi there, welcome back to Not Another Budget. I'm Nicole, and on this channel I'm attempting to cash budget my way out of debt, fix several years of financial misbehaviour, and hopefully return to normally scheduled budgeting viewing. There's no rant today, guys. I've gotten everything off my chest and it's all good. It's all gravy. Thank you so much for your response to my last video. It was lovely, and the comments were excellent and true to form. It was disliked by just the one solo person. So this video is therefore dedicated to the one person who increases my ad revenue and view account by watching all the way to the end of my videos and just leaves a dislike. Thank you ever so much. I very much enjoy the small money that your view gives me. Now, I am back. This is not so much a video where I go into plans and whys and wherefores, which is why I'm just going through and slicing these off today. However, it is a video where I am back with a bit of news. And because it was news that came about very quickly yesterday and today, I haven't therefore had the time to sit down and kind of get my head around that plan. In terms of I guess in plan, it's a tweaking of what was originally decided, because there were a few unknowns, and a lot of those unknowns have now been resolved. So the first unknown is that I have been approved for a return to work on Monday. I'm going to be on no more than half days. We have 100-minute lessons, so therefore no more than one lesson a day, and I'll be sitting down tomorrow virtually with my head of department and the head teacher to kind of overview what that looks like. And the school are very much taking it in a softly, gently approach, very kind of careful oversight. So that is fantastic. Secondly, I have had my wage slip through, taking into account the fact that I will be returning to work on Monday, and it looks like, I think, that there is 3 days of full pay on there, which would be right for me being back. So it looks like I might not be getting paid half pay on a phased return. I might be getting paid full pay for that period of time. Once again, I haven't seen a policy, and we won't know this for sure until ultimately my end of May wage slip arrives, but it's a positive sign already. Unfortunately, with my current wage slip for the end of April going into May, it looks like there's 3 different payment categories. One is half pay, one is what looks to be normal pay, and then one is the statutory sick pay as well. So me trying to clearly break that down is not the easiest thing in the world, I will be honest. And but I'm getting a little bit more than the what I brought home and what I was anticipating bringing home, which is excellent. And then hopefully as well, it looks like, again, we don't know for sure until it's done, it looks like there will be full pay or close-ish to full pay in May. I'm on a phased return for 4 weeks, and it's very much being monitored from a health perspective. So that's one fantastic bit of good news, is I am back to work, and it looks like, but again unconfirmed, it looks like I'm receiving full pay for a phased return. Secondly, as a result of kind of medical conversations today, it looks like, and this is not immediate, but over the next 3 to 4 months, I'm going to have to see if I can afford to implement some things into my budget, which medically would make my life easier. We are now planning for the fact that this condition is lifelong, and we want to make sure that for the entirety of that time, whatever the time it is, that I can be as healthy as possible. And how do we work around that? And obviously trying to keep things a bit as close to confidential as I can. So that is that. At this stage in time, I very much need to repair my income. And by repair my income, I mean get back up to full pay, and make sure and divert the money that I've been earning in addition, and that is still going to very much be a focus, can actually be directed towards other things, paying down debt, getting a bit of money behind me, to make that comfortable and ease that and make that an option. Like I said, it's a discussion that was had today, with full acknowledgement from the GP that it is not something that I can implement quickly at all, and I won't rush to implement it. But it may mean over the next 3 to 4 months you see me start to do things in my budget and experiment with different line items and tweak certain things and move certain focuses around to see if that's something that is possible. Like I said, all very unknown at the minute. So that's another thing, is that there may be some tweaks in my budget. I would say that if I were healthy, we would call those lifestyle tweaks that appear in your budget. Actually, from a medical perspective, they're actually going to be medical quote unquote tweaks. But until I kind of wrap my head around what that might be and what it looks like, it's not something I'm going to discuss immediately, but it will be coming up quite soon. So I'm still ill. I'm still going to be ill for a long time, and working. I'm really lucky. My GP is very much like they're not one of those people that just says, well, you need to go ahead and do this regardless of the financial situation they're in. They've been very kind of understanding about the fact that I'm in this situation, and they were also understanding about the fact that I have to be kind of back in work next week. So they're doing their best from their end to make sure that that is as smooth as possible, and I have as much time medically on a phased basis to get back and get going in a safe way. And then we come to the house, the big overarching looming massive unknown. So yesterday, about 10 minutes before I was due to kind of leave and see the family that were returning from the other side of the world, who I'd not seen for all of April, I get an email informing me that my landlord has resurfaced. They are no longer missing, and they have gone ahead and agreed to another year's contract, so another 12 months contract. I have not been told if there is a rent increase. However, they're within the 30-day, they're past the 30-day window when they would have been required to give me notice. So I am assuming, as I have not been told in writing, that my rent will stay the same. I'm waiting for the contract and the paperwork that may say otherwise. But I get to stay in my house for another year, which is lovely, and breathe and relax. And also, the landlord has also approved replacement carpets in the bedrooms, which are wonderful because they are horrendously worn, horrendously not good. And those carpets and those spaces have been measured up for the carpets to be replaced. And they have also approved some painting and decorating from my side as well. Obviously, that is a cost which I will have to undertake, but the house needs refreshing. They were going to go as far as the carpets, but nothing else. So that is something as well that I do need to factor in, and will be very much led by when carpets are being replaced. So again, I found that out, and then 10 minutes later was like emotional reunion with family members, and then didn't leave theirs until quite late last night. So I didn't get a chance to film the video yesterday and really sit down and process what it means. And then today, in terms of the body of today, has been wrapped up in obviously return to work procedures, going to doctors, speaking to medical staff, filling in kind of family members and things, and doing a little bit around the house. So I haven't had a chance yet to sit down and financially look over things. I would say I probably need a couple of days to try and get my head around what that looks like, because the £5,000 goal is still very much in play. But I think I discussed with you the fact that there were a couple of options of what it could... Yeah, here we go. So I discussed the fact that actually worst case scenario was this, and we were hoping for this. I genuinely didn't think we'd get here. If I, candidly speaking, I thought this was what I'd be playing with. After the way February and March and April has been, I thought that I wasn't tracking for any positivity, really, in terms of financial news. And that is purely financial news, because I would say there has been some financial positivity, and that has come from the support and engagement that you guys have given towards the videos and towards the channel, the advice and solidarity that you're showing in my comments, the fact that, you know, my views are greater, and therefore that's going to have a good financial impact. Let's be realistic here in terms of my YouTube payout. And then those of you who have just been so horrendously generous through your donations and through your purchases. So that was the positive news that came from April, but it was tinged with the fact that it was kind of happening in the background of this. And I genuinely thought, I was like, I'm going to have to plug a massive gap for May's bills. There's going to be a shortfall here. I need to deal with this. In terms of where I think we're sitting, and very much spitballing with no planning and going off the top of my head, I will still need a shortfall to plug for May. Obviously, I've got the money that I want to roll over to then as well, and I know I've got those donations and payments coming in too. I still have a shortfall to plug for May, and that rollover should plug that shortfall. So in theory, I could go ahead and not need to do anything further on my target if all I need to worry about is just plugging May's shortfall. However, that's not what we're doing. I'm going to be tentatively unsure, because I won't find out until 3 or 4 days before payday at the end of June, whether I've been fully paid or whether I have been half paid or whether I've been a bit of both. So we'll still proceed with the fact that I might need to plug a shortfall gap in June, and then we'll know by the end of June what the case is there. But what I think we've then got is actually we can look a bit more if, let's say, for example, and again, spitballing, out of the 5,000, I need to kind of take 2,000 or 1,500 towards kind of plugging shortfalls and just a little bit of a day-to-day cushion. That then means that we can look in a bit more detail potentially about what we can do with the rest of the 5,000. I'll give you a kind of tracking update tomorrow when I pull out my budget for that video, because tomorrow we're going to be back to kind of budgeting based content, less of the ranting, less of my take on stuff, and it'll kind of give me the chance to get my head around that a little bit more and put a plan in place for May financially, because May is a month where there's a lot going on, particularly with me now returning to work and having to kind of go, right, well, someone at some point is coming in to do the carpets, therefore I'm going to need to have a shift around of things, therefore I might need to paint the walls beforehand. So there's things like that I need to kind of get my head around, which is why I've not rushed into this. I'm going to take the time to work it out, and that is very much something that I'm in favour of. Don't rush in. Have a conversation where you spitball with someone, and I'll absolutely say, let me know your thoughts in the comments as well. Obviously at this stage I don't have the numbers themselves, but it looks like that there is a combination of all going on here, and it's needing to pull in a bit towards shortfalls or proposed shortfalls, and if those shortfalls aren't there further down the line, then we can use that in a slightly different way, and then building actually towards that 5,000. The fact that I've returned to work as well does mean that obviously there will be some of my budget categories will tweak slightly, because my petrol, for example, will need to increase, etc., and we'll go from there. But all in all, it was the best outcome that I could have hoped for. And obviously now I'll need to kind of go ahead and look at and go, can I just leave that £950 1 month ahead just continually rolling over then, and almost forget that it's there? That would be quite nice. That would be, again, a preferred option. So there's a lot of things that I need to go away and analyse. So I'll look for your kind of comments. I'll look for you in the comments if you are leaving kind of any advice or any nuggets of wisdom. But as I said at the point of recording, I found out the house stuff very quickly yesterday, and the focus moved to health stuff today, so I've not really had a chance to sit down and break it down myself, which is why this is not a full-on in-depth thing, and that's why as well I've not added all of the physical products to the Etsy shop. So I've got a bit of a weekend to go ahead and plan and organise. It's it's a tale. Today's been, like, the past couple of days have definitely been like a tale of two halves. They've been like fantastic news, like the highs of kind of hearing about the house and seeing family, and they've been away for some time. And then also today was a real like mixed bag. It was a, like, we'll do whatever we can to help you get back to work. Here's where there might be limitations, and here's what we need to be aware of. Oh, and by the way, there's gonna start to be a bit of a potential cost implication to my condition, which, if I can get support from external agencies, should absorb some of that cost. Obviously, if I can't, it's something I need to look at when I can implement and when. And we know that my budget is still very squeezed on a normal month. I'm hoping as well, I might try and go live. I want to try and, I've not gone live for so long. I might try and do a live on possibly Saturday night. It depends. I don't know what my plans are yet for Saturday. But I just feel like it would just be quite good to kind of spend about an hour or so chatting with you a bit more in person. So that is the updates. The updates are get to keep the house. I'm going back to work. Gently, softly, slowly. I might be getting, or it looks like, early signs are that actually I'm getting full pay for the phased return, but we will wait and see, and we will act as though I'm not. I think is a good way to do things. However, from a health perspective, it will start to have an impact financially, and I will need to look at some things in my budget and how that goes, and what I can do when. Equally as well, there are some things which I've been told I can do to the house, and I will need to obviously cost that out and work around it. And is it something I'm going to do if I'm only going to stay here for a year, or do I want to maybe address my plans there, and look at what are the steps to potential ownership of this property, and look into that and discuss that a bit more. But I appreciate that that's quite a big thing. There's lots going on there. If nothing else, I know that April, and to a certain extent March, but April especially, has shown me that despite my state of health and what is going on, I do have it in me to go ahead and derive that extra income. I just now need to be, with me returning to work and with most of my energy directed towards that, I now need to be very, very strategic about how I do that and where I look for those opportunities to bring that money in, and how I best maximize my time so that I'm not chasing my tail. Again, a discussion for a future video, but this has just been a bit of an update, and not a rant, and full of good news. And yeah, I'm going to see you all tomorrow. If I do decide to go live at any point, I will put a message and a link to the live in my community post, so keep an eye out on there. It won't be in the next couple of days. It might be over the weekend, if everything works in that regard. So apart from that, I'm going to see you tomorrow with actual kind of budgeting, breaking down of budgets and money and stuff. And as per usual, all my links are down in the description box below. So that's Etsy, Ko-fi, Buy Me a Coffee, and Vinted, for those of you that are interested in having a look. I hope you have a fantastic evening, day, morning, wherever you are in the world, and I will see you all very, very soon. Bye-bye for now.